We've spent this time arguing about Evangelion, and I will just start this video before we talk about the video we're going to talk about. I will just start this video by saying exactly what I said before, so the comment section gets angry with me. There are no good people in the story of Evangelion. Everyone is a villain. Everyone is some level of fucked up or plain evil. Everyone. Everybody is awful in Eva. It is one of my favorite animes, but every character in that show is a genuinely bad person in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, said Pen Pen is objectively good. Pen Pen is the worst. Pen Pen is responsible for more atrocities than you will ever know. Anyway, onto this video. This just dropped recently, but it's called Satan Showed Himself and Christians Don't See It. So apparently Satan's not an imaginary enemy for Christians now. Satan is actually a real person who really showed up in American politics, and we need to see it. It's very important for us to see it now, because other Christians aren't seeing it, apparently, I guess. So I guess we have to play Where's Waldo, but with Satan. We're gonna see if we can watch the video and see where's Satan.
We've been here in history before, members. Only it was a different kind of human.
Where we got a committee hearing there, and we saw that there were 2 of us that got to testify in favor of the bill, and then there were only 2 spots to testify against the bill. And guess who it was?
But listen to the absolute shocking truth of what happens next in this video.
Oh my god. There is no context in the beginning at all. Literally just going, this bill, and then he goes, listen to the absolute shocking truth of what happens next. I'm sorry, buddy, but that lead up gave us nothing. Let's go. Also, Hannah Reloaded, thank you so much for the raid. How was your stream?
Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. In this video, I'm going to show you one of the most demonic things that I have ever covered on my channel.
Okay.
But please, don't look away from this. Don't push this off as something that you don't want to see. You know, it's important that we as Christians, as believers, understand and see what's going on in society, what's going on in our culture, so that we know what we're standing against and we know how to stand our ground in the Word of God.
Okay.
So even though this might be hard to see, please don't turn.
That is a lot of buildup, and I have yet to actually see anything so far. Like, this is, don't turn your head away from this. This is awful. You don't understand, but you have to watch it. It's our job as Christians to pay attention to something to which I have zero context of at all and have no ability to understand, apparently. Let's just see what he's got to say.
A blind eye to what's going on right in front of us. In this video, I'm going to show you something that Cosmopolitan just posted out in the open. They just came out and said what the agenda is.
The agenda.
And this is coming from the largest young women's media brand in the world. And then I want to look at a new documentary that Apologia, a new documentary that they just posted called The Fatal Flaw. We're going to take a look at a snippet of this documentary.
Okay.
And it should utterly shock you what they expose in this documentary when it comes to the pro-life movement. Quickly, though, we must have a foundation in the Word of God.
Oh my fucking... Is he going to begin the video going, before we talk about this really important thing, guys, I need you to understand the Bible a thing. And because the Bible a thing, we the Bible. Why? Why do we don't need the Bible verse? Get us to the actual thing that is so important, please. Okay, Cosmopolitan, we're back here. Let's go.
In the world, at least for young women. So keep that in mind. But you scroll down here, and this is an actual post by Cosmopolitan.
Okay.
Listen to what they're saying now. They're not even trying to make it sound sweeter than it is, to whisper in your ear pretty little lies to make this sound.
Okay, so it says, so how does a satanic Abortion ceremony even work. Patients of all faiths are welcome at Samuel Alito's mom's satanic abortion clinic in New Mexico. Okay, so it's literally just taking the piss. It's literally just taking the piss about Justice Alito, right? That's what this is. This is taking the piss, and if you don't see this as taking the piss, then what are you even doing? What are you even doing? It's just going, yeah, no. Justice Alito says that it's bad. It's very, very bad to be a person who does abortion. That's very bad, and we're going to argue against it in decisions about Roe v. Wade. So let's go ahead and name an abortion clinic Alito. Basically. All that build up for this post here. Okay, cool. Abortion ceremonies are totally optional and customizable. Here's a sample of the TST recommends. Again, this is a giant joke taking the piss because of Christians who freak out about abortions, saying that they're evil, demonic, satanic. Like, to argue that it's anything but that is to be so thoroughly disconnected, or alternatively, to have an audience that reliably only responds to you when you are an alarmist idiot. One of the two.
Like, oh, it's not sacrifice, it's healthcare. Hey, real quick, would you mind hitting that thumbs up button?
No, how about you don't do that? Instead, go to ddlgplayground.com, use coupon code Suris. Go get a dildo and go fuck yourself for Christmas. That would be infinitely more useful and more gratifying than subscribing to the dude's channel. But I have to ask a question. Does he honestly think that having an abortion is demonic sacrifice? Does he honestly believe that? Because, like, if so, I have to wonder how anybody on his channel takes him seriously. What's he at? Like, 329,000 subscribers? This video has 177,000 views in the first couple hours. It's been up for, like, what, 5-6 hours? How do you garner an audience of that many morons? Now, there's a video I'm going to cover on Mike Winger later that I think I'm going to turn into a YouTube short that talks about atheists using condescension.
Get in my Bella.
Get in my... me Bella. Thank you, Rock Copper Fluffy Boy, for the 500 bits. But there is a video that Mike Winger did talking about how atheists constantly use condescension and sarcasm and stuff in their arguments. And if you strip the condescension away... then what's left there? And the answer to that is pretty obvious. There are some ideas that simply merit mockery. You can argue against them, and it's a reasonable thing to do, to argue against them, but there are some ideas that simply cannot or should not be consumed without there also being sufficient derision afterwards. And I know that may sound ludicrous to some people going, no, arguments should always be taken at face value. You should never insert more than's needed. You need to give the best version of it. No. If somebody comes to me and they're just like, actually, the Holocaust was okay and Nazi Germany was not the worst thing to happen in the entire world, I'm literally just going to look at them and go, you're a fucking idiot, and I don't have the slurs or crayons to describe to you how much of an idiot you are, but here you are. And I think that's a reasonable stance.
Straight up saying, yeah, this is for Satan. Look at this. So how does a satanic abhorrent ceremony even work? And they're going to get into how this works as a satanic ceremony. Basically a sacrifice to Satan. And it goes on.
Again, this is the equivalent of saying that a child wearing a Halloween costume is necessarily trying to be a demon. That's what you're doing. People who are literally, again, taking the piss, you are taking them so seriously so as to make yourself look like a fool.
On patients of all faiths are welcome at Samuel Alito's mom's satanic abhorrent clinic in New Mexico. Now, they're writing this because there was, well, a satanic abhorrent clinic that opened in New Mexico.
He keeps saying abhorrent. I think he's scared to say the word abortion because he's worried his video is going to get demonetized, but I feel like that's, you know, a little cowardly. Just say abortion. We know what it is. We know what you're talking about. Abort your strategy.
Mexico, instead of going and pretending like it's just healthcare, we can just call it what it is now. It says,
Are you saying the man's voice has an obnoxious drone? Are you saying that this man's voice has an obnoxious drone? Are you saying that? Splintered Orion, how could you possibly say that about his voice? Did I do it right? Did I get it correct? Hey, Suris, your username means cheese in Lithuanian. Jesus Christ.
As along with medical counsel, TST offers free ceremonial support to everyone. Abhorrent ceremonies are totally optional and customizable. Here's a simple one TST recommends. Oh, here we go. Just a simple ceremony to sacrifice your child. And one thing, okay, look at the upside down cross immediately.
Yes, it's an upside down cross. Like, okay, look, so if you didn't exist as a reactionary, then this wouldn't happen. That's what's happening right now. You being a reactionary is exactly why this whole thing is happening. People like you freaking out about this is the exact reason why companies will do stuff like this, because they know it will rile you up. They know that the joke, it will be completely, it will go completely over your head. They know that, and it's funny.
Again, this is going to be tough to hear and to see, but please don't be ignorant to this happening. This is happening, and it's going to get worse. And if we're ignorant, if we push it away and say, I don't want to see it, I don't want to know it, then we don't know what we're actually fighting against. We must take a biblical stand against this and have a knowledge of what's actually happening.
All right, so yes, also it is important to know that this is actually one of the strategies that has been used to try to keep abortion rights there. So not only is this done by people because it's funny, and it makes people like you freak out, and that's funny, but also this is something that has been argued for to try to prevent women from losing the right to abortion. Literally, if the right to abortion were not at risk, if it were not a thing that was threatened by Republicans, then you actually wouldn't have stuff like this happening near as often, because this is an argument that you see people fall back on a lot. Like when you have a statue of Baphomet come up as a direct result of people trying to put the Ten Commandments up in a courtroom, on a court lawn. When you do things like that, when you push harder and harder for your Christian theocratic bullcrap, this is what happens. Your theocratic bullcrap gets looked at, laughed at, and then countered by using the exact same strategies that you are using. The strategies that you are employing end up getting used against you. And if you don't like that, then maybe don't push so hard to get your Christian crap in here. We are a nation with a lot of different faiths, and trying to argue that any one of those faiths is more important than the other ones is, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, it's un-American. It really is.
Happening. It says, first, find a quiet space. Bring a mirror if you can. Just before taking the medication, gaze at your reflection and focus on your personhood. Home in on your intent, your responsibility to you. It goes on to say, take a few deep, relaxing breaths. When you're ready, read the following tenet aloud. One's body is inviolable, which essentially means that your body is not to be dishonored by a human life within it.
Or your body is something that you get to control, and nobody, adult or child, can have any control over your body aside from you. Nobody gets to rape you, is what I'm saying.
Your body is not to be
infringed
for the wet yourself on by another human being, subject to one's own will alone. Take the medication and immediately afterward recite, beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. Talk about irony, but the way that they're using this is to say that...
What's the irony there? What's ironic? Are you saying that there's that women should not have control over their own bodies, and it's ironic that they should advocate for that, or there's no evidence that women should have control over their own bodies? Like, what's the ironic part? Like, okay, this is literally just okay advice for one's mental health, cloaked in the facade of religious ritual. Which, I mean, I've got comments about how much of that there is in general, but yeah, that's all this is. That's all this is. The facade of a religious ritual being used to spoon feed mental health to somebody. That's okay.
Science
I'm okay with that.
Is whatever we think should be fact, and if you go with actual science...
What, he sounds like a creationist right now. This is the stuff creationists do. These are the things that creationists are known for.
What is actually the truth, then you're denying and distorting scientific facts to fit your own beliefs. True science is just whatever we feel is true on the inside, because our bodies are inviolable. Just a little bit more, and then we're going to look at the apologia.
So when you talk about how people's bodies are not inviolable, it makes you sound kind of like a rapist. I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, it makes you sound like that. I'm not accusing you of being one. I'm not saying you have ever done this. I am not saying anybody should treat you as if you have. I am simply saying that the statement, on its face, where you laugh at somebody saying their body is inviolable, makes you sound like somebody who might violate a body at some point. That's what it makes you sound like. And if you don't want to sound that way, then maybe don't use language that somebody who thinks doing that to someone is okay would use. Maybe. Just maybe.
That documentary that will blow your mind. It says later, once the procedure is complete, return to your reflection. Focus again on your personhood, your power in making this decision. Complete the ritual by reciting a personal affirmation. By my body, my blood, by my will, it is done. Taking life and death and judgment into your own hands. And this is happening right in front of our eyes, right in front of our faces.
Yes, people are taking the piss because people use religion to argue against women's rights, and therefore you live in a world where we're going to use religion to argue for women's rights. You live in a world that y'all created for yourselves and you hate it. Boo-hoo. They're just boo-hoo. I have no other argument besides, I'm sorry, but you guys did this to yourselves. You fought hard to keep religion in politics. You fought hard to associate right-wing extremism with Christianity. This is the thing that you sow. These are the seeds you reap from doing this. Okay. That's young cat child. Young cat child. Why were you out? Every time. Every time. One of those cats. So they did it to themselves. We're just being forced to suffer with them. Basically, like, if you don't like these kind of arguments being used in favor of women's rights, then maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't create an environment where this is what we have to rely on. You don't want statues of Baphomet in the courtyards? Then stop putting Ten Commandment statues there. That's how this works. You are upset about an environment that y'all created, that y'all instigated, that y'all made a requirement. Political discourse works both ways. Slow clip? What do you mean slow clip? Crazy, it's almost like mixing religion and politics is harmful to both. Yeah, weird. Weird that. My channel would have never gone into politics at all had it not been for the mixing of religion and politics, but damn, Steven Anderson couldn't stop saying kill the gays. And so here we are.
And we're just turning away, looking away because we don't want to see that it's actually happening. And if we pretend that this isn't happening, that this isn't being indoctrinated into the hearts and the minds of everyone around us, every young woman, every young person, every college student, every high school student, every elementary school student, then you're just being ignorant. You know, Christian.
So it turns out that human beings are not wells of facts and logic. Human beings, by and large, need to have good ideas spoon-fed to them. In fact, actually, when we are very young, we need to have the idea of what a good idea is basically given to us. We have no idea at those young ages what a good idea means. We have no idea why we should hold them. And oftentimes we are doing everything in our power. God, I hate doing boss fights that have sound in them in the middle of this. But we as children literally have to have it explained to us why we should not do things like instigate problems for other people merely for our own amusement. Like that's a basic thing that has to be explained to kids. Do you know why? Because we don't have an instinct for it. We don't. So the fact that we have to do things like, I don't know, tell kids that, hey, one day you will have the choice to be pregnant and it's okay for that to be a choice, that's a reasonable thing. That is a perfectly reasonable thing. It may seem like an unreasonable thing to somebody who's like, no, that's indoctrination. Bullshit. Every single thing you teach a kid in school is some flavor of indoctrination. Every single bit. What's important is not whether or not it's indoctrination. What is important is the end result of it. What is important is, hey, when we tell a kid that the earth is flat, what happens? They start believing a bunch of other dumb bullshit. What happens when we tell a kid that the earth is an oblate spheroid? Well, we have to support that with fact and evidence, and then when we do so, they start learning about other things. They learn foundations for other better beliefs than things like flat eartherism. The issue is not, did you teach a kid a thing that was that you think is true? The issue is, what impact does that thing have? What impact does it have to tell them that it's okay for them to have a choice? And also, to argue that, well, that's just not something kids need to know at that early age. Yeah, I wish I lived in a world where kids weren't raped. I wish I lived in that world, but I don't live in that world. I live in a world where Republicans argue whether or not it's okay for children to bear fruit, as it were, to force them to take rapists' babies to term. I live in that world, and if you pretend you don't live in that world, then I wish I had your level of delusion. But as I don't, and I have to operate within the real world, I operate in a world where it's okay to tell kids that, hey, this is a thing that can happen in your sexual education, and if this happens, then you get a choice over what happens to the thing growing inside you. That may sound like an awful thing to tell a child, but the reality is, we live in a world where there are children, by and large, who will need that information. And if you argue that a child should not have the information that says that they are allowed to choose what happens with their body in that regard, then I have to wonder what you would say should happen when something bad happens to that child's body. Much like how I don't think you should use rhetoric that could be mistaken for a rapist's rhetoric, maybe you shouldn't argue in a way that can lead to a child being forced to bear a rapist baby to term. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. He said there were two things he was doing in his video. I'm less interested in the second one. I am more interested in the first one because apparently Satan was shown, and I didn't see Satan. I saw people taking the piss, and it was funny, and then I got mad. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and remember, Mary was 12. Insert end of video tagline here. All right, guys, how's it going? Welcome to the end of the video, which means it is time for the fan art, because that got moved here, even though it used to be at the beginning for like 6 years. Anyway, point is, welcome to the end. There is a there's a Suris fan art over there, and it is from Worthless. It says you can shorten my name to Worth if you want. I will try to remember to do that because you're not worthless. I don't know how I have to explain that. But it said that's what most do because they don't want to call me something so mean. But Fem Suris exercising before she opens up for possession? I don't know why that part's there. We're just going to go to the next one. Anyway, this one had to open up in Krita for some reason. Cricket says, oh no, I let him out. Everyone run. That slime Suris is looking awfully Geodude. Oh, that's an eraser tool. I don't use Krita enough. Anyway, the next one here is, Cricket says part 2. But it looks, I guess actually this one might be part 1. Krita opened them up weird. And I don't know which one's part 1 and which one's part 2. I'd assume this one's part 1, actually, because this is the slime being opened, and this is the end result of everything. Anyway, these are cool. I like comic-style things. I still need to voice over that one comic that I skipped in fan art for the purpose of voicing over, and I never gained the spoons to voice it. Sorry about that, anyone. Sorry. I'll get to that as soon as I can. As always, everybody, thank you for your fan art submissions. Let's go ahead and get into the credits before I make the end of this even more awkward. Why do I feel more awkward in Facecam than VTuber model? There's no actual difference. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, Sagitt, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.